I overheard my wife bragging about cheating on me for years. Instead of confronting her right away, I gathered proof and planned my next steps carefully. This story follows my journey through betrayal, heartbreak, and the slow process of rebuilding my life stronger than before. Hey, I'm Jake Mitchell. I'm 34, living in Austin, Texas. I never imagined I'd be the kind of guy sharing his life unraveling on the internet, but here I am. This story isn't easy to tell. It's raw, messy, and heartbreaking. So buckle up, because this ride's about to get bumpy. Last weekend was supposed to be simple. My buddies and I had planned a weekend trip to Dallas months ago, just a guy's getaway to catch the big game, blow off some steam, and reconnect. We'd been counting down to it for weeks. But then, at the last minute, Mike's kid got sick. So the trip was canceled. No big deal, right? Life happens. But for me, that was the moment everything fell apart. Instead of heading out of town, I decided to surprise my wife, Claire. She's 31, sharp, and has been my rock for 8 years. I thought, why not come home early, cook dinner, maybe watch a movie together? You know, those normal, cozy couple things we rarely make time for. What I didn't know was how twisted this night was going to become. I pulled into our quiet neighborhood around 9 p.m., ready for a surprise. But when I pulled up, I noticed a few cars I didn't expect. Lisa's sleek black SUV. She's one of Claire's close friends, and Sarah's old Honda, another girl from Claire's circle. Claire had mentioned hosting a girls' night, so it made sense, but something in me just felt off. I was about to walk up to the front door when I heard them, laughing, loud, and unmistakably wine-drunk, out on the back porch. I stepped quietly toward the side gate to get a better listen. That's when I heard my name. Claire was talking about me, only it wasn't what I hoped to hear. She slurred just a little, giggling with her friends. Then Lisa said, loud enough for me to hear every word, "He's too dumb to realize I've been sneaking around with Sutton for years." Claire practically shouted, "I know, right? 3 whole years, and he still doesn't have a clue." They all burst out laughing like it was the funniest joke on earth. My body went numb. My heart felt like it slammed into my chest and stopped. I froze behind that gate, my brain trying to process the words I was hearing. The wife I trusted, the life we built, all of it shattered in one sentence. They joked about how Sutton was over whenever I was working late, how they used the couch, the very couch where I'd take my lazy naps, as their secret hideout. Kathleen, another friend, shrieked about how sweet and clueless I was the next morning, making Claire breakfast as if nothing had happened the night before. I was a ghost in my own home, listening to my wife brag about betrayal with her friends like it was a badge of honor. I don't know how long I stood there, heart pounding, stomach dropping, trying not to scream or run away. They talked about weekend trips, secret hotel stays barely minutes from our house, even about the weekend of my dad's funeral, when Claire told me she was too sick to come, but instead was with Sutton. That was the moment my whole world cracked. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. I quietly backed away, drove to a Target parking lot down the street, and sat in my car, trying to catch my breath. I must have looked insane. A grown man hyperventilating in his car at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. Once I could think straight, I called Mike. Dude answered right away, thank God. I spilled everything. The laughter, the lies, the years of betrayal. Mike told me to stay away from home that night, said I could crash at his place and figure out the next steps. At Mike's, I paced the living room for hours while he Googled divorce lawyers and gave me advice. Every painful memory from the last 8 years replayed on loop. All the times Claire went on girls' trips, with barely any pictures. The way she started keeping her phone face down. The unexplained hotel charges. The nights she showed houses after work but came home late and distant. I was the biggest fool on the planet. At 3 a.m., Claire texted me, acting like nothing was wrong. Girls crashed here. Hope you're having fun with the guys. Love you. I nearly threw my phone across the room. Mike told me to be smart, to not tip her off that I knew yet. So I pretended everything was normal when I saw her the next day. Told her I crashed at Mike's after drinking too much. She bought it. She even complained about cleaning up after the girls while nursing a hangover. But inside, I was already planning my next move. Over the next week, I went full detective. When Claire was in the shower, I snuck a look at her phone. Thousands of texts with Sutton, calling him client, like it was some secret code. Explicit photos. Hotel receipts. I took screenshots and emailed everything to myself. I combed through our finances. Hundreds of charges at restaurants I never went to. Lingerie stores. Hotels. Claire even booked a weekend getaway while I was at my dad's funeral. Each discovery felt like another stab in the chest. 8 years of marriage. All the times I defended her to my family when they said she seemed self-centered. Our talks about starting a family next year. All of it felt like a lie. I met with a divorce attorney during my lunch break. She was the toughest one I could find. She told me to document everything, secure my finances, and prepare for what's coming. You're doing the right thing by not confronting her yet, she said. The better prepared you are, the stronger your position. I started moving half our savings into a new account in just my name. Changed passwords. Made lists of our assets. Photographed valuables around the house. All the lawyer's advice. Meanwhile, I kept up the act of the clueless husband. Kissed Claire goodbye in the mornings. Watched Netflix beside her while she texted Sutton on her phone right in front of me. 2 weeks in, I was ready. I had every scrap of evidence, a new apartment lease signed, and the support of my family, who were devastated by what Claire had done. The hardest part was staying calm when she looked me in the eye and said, "I love you," before bed. When she suggested we start trying for a baby next month. I wanted to scream, but I kept my cool. Because the woman who laughed about me being too stupid to see her cheating had no idea what was coming. All right, so after those brutal weeks of pretending everything was normal, I dove headfirst into executing the plan I'd spent days meticulously crafting. This wasn't about revenge in the petty sense. This was about reclaiming control over my life and making sure Claire couldn't pull the wool over anyone's eyes, least of all mine. First things first, finances. I moved half of our joint savings into a new account solely in my name, hidden behind layers of passwords and security questions only I knew. I froze our joint credit cards, citing suspicious activity to the bank. Claire was livid when her card was declined at Sephora, and I just played dumb, telling her the new cards must have been delayed in the mail. While she was out showing houses, which, by now, I knew was just a cover for her sneaking around with Sutton, I quietly moved my most valuable and irreplaceable things to my new apartment. My dad's old watch, family photos, important documents, stuff that couldn't be replaced. Every time I moved something, I'd replace it with a cheap knockoff or rearrange the room to cover my tracks. Claire wasn't the brightest, but she wasn't stupid either, and I couldn't risk tipping her off. I leaned heavily on Mike during this time. He helped me compile what we called the nuclear file, a collection of everything I'd uncovered, screenshots of texts, explicit photos, hotel receipts, credit card statements, a detailed timeline of Claire's affair, and even a USB drive loaded with recordings of phone calls between her and Sutton. Texas is a one-party consent state, so legally I was covered. We made multiple copies. One for me, one for my lawyer, one for Sutton's wife. Yeah, I found her. Her name's Laura, and she seemed like a decent person who was completely in the dark. I also planned to send a copy to Claire's parents. They deserve to know the truth and not get blindsided by their daughter's lies. Controlling the narrative was critical. I didn't want Claire spinning some sob story painting me as the bad guy. So I started subtle guy talks with our mutual friends. Nothing direct, just planting seeds of doubt. How Claire had seemed distant, how marriage sometimes feels lonely. I wanted people to question her, not me. I even took screenshots of her Instagram, where she'd post these perfect marriage photos, #couplegoals captions, and all the while, she was actively cheating. The hypocrisy was maddening. Then came D-Day. Claire had been working on a big client appreciation event for months. A huge deal in her real estate world, with fancy outfits, networking, and all that jazz. That morning, I acted completely normal. Made coffee, kissed her goodbye, told her good luck. She left looking like she owned the world in her expensive dress, the dress I basically paid for. At exactly 10 a.m., I sent the nuclear file to Laura Sutton via courier, including my phone number if she wanted to talk. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Texts, calls, frantic messages. Why is Sutton's wife calling you? Did you talk to her? Answer your phone. I ignored it all, just watching the chaos unfold. Laura called me later that afternoon. She was devastated but grateful. Sutton had apparently been gaslighting her for years, telling her she was paranoid. Laura was trying to save her marriage, but Sutton was throwing Claire under the bus. Claire's event was a disaster. She had to leave early because of the mess erupting in her personal life. At 3 p.m., She was blowing up my phone nonstop. I sent an email to her parents that afternoon. No emotional pleas, just a clear timeline and the evidence. I've always respected them, and they deserve the truth. By 6 p.m., I was sitting in our living room, now mine, when Claire finally came home. Her makeup was smeared, mascara running down her cheeks. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in one day. She started with anger, yelling at me for telling Laura, calling me a traitor. Then bargaining, crying, screaming, trying to seduce me. Anything to get me to back down. I stayed calm. "We both know what's going on," I said quietly. Then I handed her the divorce papers my lawyer had prepared weeks ago. The color drained from her face. She realized this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment reaction. I'd been planning this for weeks, sleeping beside her every night, all while collecting proof. She noticed some of my things missing. "I'm staying elsewhere," I told her. "You have 3 days to figure out your living situation before I notify the landlord. Remember, we have a morality clause in the lease." Claire's world was crumbling. In the days that followed, she swung between threatening me and begging for forgiveness. "We can fix this," she sobbed. "It was just physical. I love only you." But it was too late. Her social circle fractured. Lisa and Sarah, the friends who'd laughed with her that night, ghosted her once they realized the truth might come out. Her parents called her for a very disappointing talk. Sutton went into full damage control, telling Laura Claire was obsessed and wouldn't leave him alone. Laura filed for divorce 3 weeks after D-Day and moved to Pennsylvania. Financially, Claire was wrecked. Half our savings was legally in my name. She lost access to joint credit cards and couldn't afford rent on her own. And her real estate clients? She was losing them after the event fiasco. The final blow came when mutual friends told her everyone knew, not because I spread rumors, but because Laura's circle shared what she'd learned. Claire showed up at my apartment last night, makeup ruined, clothes rumpled, tears streaming down her face. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, but only for a moment. She begged me to forgive her, swore she'd do anything to fix this. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Remember when you told your friends I was too stupid to know?" Surprise. Her face went from shock to horror to shame in seconds. She tried to say it was just drunken talk, that she didn't mean it, but I cut her off. "Sit down," I said. "I want to show you something." When Claire came crying to my door that night, she got a surprise she never expected. A full breakdown of her new financial reality, spreadsheets, projections, and exactly how screwed she was going to be after this divorce. It's been about 6 months since I dropped that bombshell on Claire and sent her world spiraling. I appreciate all the messages checking in. I'm still here, still standing. It took me a while to process everything before I could share what happened next. Spoiler, it's been a wild ride, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The morning after Claire showed up at my apartment, broken and desperate, I woke up with a strange sense of calm. For the first time in months, I slept without waking up at 3 a.m., heart pounding. I made coffee, scrolled through Reddit without checking my phone obsessively. It felt like the first day of the rest of my life. Claire? She was dealing with what my therapist later called consequences culture. After I kicked her out, she drove straight to Lisa's place, expecting her best friend to take her in. But Lisa wasn't having it. She pretended not to be home, even though her car was parked right outside. Apparently, some friendships only last as long as the party. Divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth, thanks to my lawyer. During mediation, Claire tried to argue that one mistake shouldn't erase 8 years of marriage. The mediator, an older woman with zero tolerance for BS, asked if 3 years of documented infidelity counted as one mistake. Claire then tried the usual tricks, threats, name-calling, claiming I was abusive. But my lawyer slid the photo evidence across the table and reminded Claire that in Texas, adultery could affect alimony. The look on her face? Priceless. Like realizing she'd brought a butter knife to a gunfight. We settled 2 weeks later. I kept my retirement accounts and most assets. She got enough to start over, but nowhere near the lifestyle she'd grown used to. The judge told her she was lucky, given the circumstances. Watching Claire's financial fallout was tough, even for me. From a luxury apartment to her parents' retirement community guest room with floral wallpaper and a twin bed she'd had since high school. For a while, she tried to keep up appearances on Instagram, cryptic posts about growth and trusting the journey, but no one was fooled. Her financial troubles worsened when she lost her job. Not because her boss cared about her personal life, but because she was constantly late and missing work, weighed down by depression. I won't lie, I understood that part more than I wanted to admit. The social aftermath was the most fascinating to watch. Our mutual friends split into teams. Team Jake, Mike, Jake and his wife, a handful of coworkers, and weirdly, Claire's cousin Tara, who apparently always knew Claire was selfish. Team Claire, mostly her parents, though even they kept her at arm's length. And Team Nobody, most people just distanced themselves from both of us to avoid drama. The strangest development? Lisa. After ghosting Claire initially, she reached out to me on Facebook to check in and asked if we could grab coffee. I politely declined. Something about how quickly she jumped ship felt off. Meanwhile, Laura Sutton and I kept in touch. No romance, just two people processing similar betrayals. We met for lunch every few weeks and updated each other on the chaos. Sutton tried every cliché reconciliation tactic you've seen in bad movies, standing outside with a boombox, sending massive flower bouquets to Claire's workplace, even dragging their pastor into the mess. None of it worked. Laura filed for divorce 3 weeks after D-Day and moved in with her sister in Houston. Last I heard, she's dating a kindergarten teacher who coaches Little League. Sounds like a much better chapter. Sutton tried to reach out to me once, sending a long, dramatic text about how we were both victims and how Claire pursued him aggressively. I replied with a simple, "Good luck." It was dismissive, but perfectly fitting. As for me, the first month after moving out, I basically became a hermit. Work, home, order DoorDash, binge Netflix, sleep, repeat. My new apartment looked like a college dorm. Mattress on the floor, 1 pot, 2 plates, 0 decor. Mike staged an intervention one Saturday morning, showing up with bagels and forcing me to talk about what I was feeling. I'm not much of a crier, but that day I let it out. All the sadness beneath the anger, the years wasted, the shattered future I thought I had. After that, I started therapy. Found a guy on BetterHelp who specialized in betrayal trauma. He didn't push me toward forgiveness or reconciliation. No Hallmark card nonsense. Just practical tools to process the pain and start moving forward. Slowly, I took small steps. Got a proper bed frame. Joined a local soccer league. Actually started accepting invitations to social events instead of making excuses. 2 months ago, I went on my first date since the divorce. Just coffee with a woman I met through a hiking meetup group. Awkward AF. I'd forgotten how to talk to someone new. But it was a start. Last week, something totally unexpected happened. I was at Home Depot, buying paint for my new place. Finally ready to put some color on these white walls, when I literally bumped carts with Claire. She looked different. Shorter hair, simpler clothes, none of the flashy stuff she used to wear. For a moment, neither of us knew what to say. Then she asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I said yes. We sat on a bench outside, both clutching our Home Depot bags like armor. Claire started with a genuine apology. No excuses, no blame. She said she was sorry for how badly she'd hurt me, that she'd been working on herself to understand why she did what she did. I won't lie, part of me was bracing for manipulation or tears or a desperate attempt to get back together. But it never came. She just wanted me to know she was sorry, that she was in therapy too, and that she hoped I was doing okay. Then she told me she was moving to Chicago for a fresh start. Had an interview lined up, staying with a college friend until she found her own place. The weirdest part? I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. Like watching the finale of a show you stopped caring about halfway through. We said goodbye awkwardly. No hug, just a nod. As she walked away, she turned and said, "I know it doesn't matter now, but I really did love you. I just didn't know how to love anyone properly, including myself." I stood there watching her walk away, thinking about how 6 months ago, that moment would have destroyed me all over again. Now, it was just another Tuesday errand with an unexpected bump into someone from my past. So where am I now? My new place is coming together. Smaller than the apartment Claire and I shared, but it's mine. No emotional landmines, no memories lurking in corners. Just a space slowly becoming home. Work is good. Friends are good. I'm good. Most days, anyway. There are still moments when a song comes on or something reminds me of Claire, and it stings. But those moments are fewer and farther between. Yesterday, I deleted all the evidence files from my computer. Kept backups on a drive locked in my safe, just in case. But I don't need those screenshots and timelines cluttering my digital life anymore. It felt symbolic, like clearing your browser cache, but for my real life. I've started dating someone new. Taking it slow. She knows the basics, but not the ugly details. She's patient with my trust issues and doesn't push when I need space. It's too early to say where it's going, but it's nice to feel hopeful again. As for Claire, I heard from her mom, who still sends me birthday cards, weirdly enough, that she's actually doing okay in Chicago. Got the job, found an apartment, making new friends. Part of me is glad. Not because I wish her well, exactly, but because it means this chapter is truly closed. The woman who laughed about me being too stupid to see her cheating learned the hardest lesson. Actions have consequences. Reputations take years to build and moments to destroy, and once trust is broken, some things can never be repaired. Me? I learned I'm stronger than I thought. That starting over isn't giving up, and that the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's rebuilding your own, better than before. After that awkward Home Depot encounter with Claire, things shifted in a way I hadn't fully anticipated. It was like a closing scene, the final punctuation on a long, painful chapter. I'd spent months drowning in the chaos she left behind, the betrayal, the lies, the shattered trust. But that day, I felt the first real breath of freedom. The weeks that followed were about finding myself again. Without the weight of a marriage built on deception, I had space to think, to heal, and to start carving a new path. It wasn't easy. There were days when I still woke up with that familiar tightness in my chest, the crushing sadness lurking just below the surface. But I was learning how to live with it without letting it define me. One of the biggest changes was in my daily routine. I went from a guy who barely cooked, surviving on takeout and frozen dinners, to someone who started experimenting in the kitchen. I found comfort in small things, chopping vegetables, trying new recipes, even hosting a few friends for dinner. It was therapeutic, a way to regain control over my life bit by bit. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects, taking on new responsibilities that challenged me. For a while, it was easier to bury myself in spreadsheets and meetings than face the emotional fallout. But slowly, I started to find a balance, working hard without losing sight of myself. Social life? That was a mixed bag. The breakup and divorce had shaken up my circle. Some friends stayed loyal, like Mike and Jake. Others drifted away, maybe uncomfortable with the drama or just wanting to avoid taking sides. And then there were the new connections. Joining the local soccer league turned out to be a blessing. The camaraderie, the competition, the simple joy of playing a sport I loved reminded me there was life beyond heartache. Dating was a different story. My first date after the divorce, a casual coffee with a woman I met through a hiking group, was awkward as hell. I'd forgotten how to talk to someone without the weight of history between us. But it was a start. Since then, I've taken things slow, learning to trust again, building connections without rushing. Therapy continued to be crucial. My counselor specialized in betrayal trauma, and his approach was refreshingly practical. No pressure to forgive or forget, just tools to process the pain and move forward. We worked on rebuilding my self-esteem, managing anxiety, and setting boundaries. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm making strides. Meanwhile, Claire's life was quietly unraveling from afar. I kept tabs through mutual friends and social media, the inevitable consequences of her actions. Her move to Chicago, the new job, and the struggle to rebuild her own life were a reminder that while I was healing, she was facing her own reckoning. One of the more unexpected developments was reconnecting with Laura Sutton. Our shared experience of betrayal created an unlikely friendship. We supported each other through the darkest moments, sharing stories, venting frustrations, and eventually encouraging each other to move on. She's now dating someone new, and it feels like we both found some closure in letting go. Back home, I began making my new apartment feel like more than just a place to crash. Painting the walls was the first step, no more blank white. I picked calming colors, invested in some art, and slowly added personal touches. It was my space, free from the ghosts of my past. Financially, the divorce settlement gave me a fresh start. I was careful with my money, saving and budgeting to build stability. It wasn't about living large, but about creating a foundation that I could rely on. Family also became more important. I reconnected with my siblings, spent more time with my parents, and let them back into my life in ways I hadn't before. Their support was a balm, reminding me that despite everything, I wasn't alone. Throughout it all, I kept a journal. Sometimes just scribbles, other times long reflections. Writing helped me process emotions, track progress, and remind myself that growth wasn't linear. There were setbacks, days I wanted to give up, but also moments of unexpected joy and hope. Looking back, I realize how much I underestimated my own resilience. The man who once sat alone in his car, hyperventilating after overhearing his wife's betrayal, is now someone who's standing tall. It's been a journey marked by pain, but also by strength and renewal. I don't know what the future holds, no one does, but I'm no longer afraid of starting over. I've learned that healing takes time, that forgiveness of myself and others is complicated, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply keep moving forward. As I close this chapter, I'm grateful for the lessons learned. The scars remain, but they don't define me. I'm building a new story, one rooted in honesty, self-respect, and hope. 6 months after the dust settled, I found myself standing at a crossroads I never imagined I'd face. A man remade by betrayal, loss, and the slow, painful climb back to peace. Looking back, it's wild how life can flip upside down in a moment, but also how it can rebuild itself from the rubble, stronger than before. The quiet after the storm felt surreal at first. No more fighting, no more lies, no more sleepless nights haunted by what-ifs. Instead, there was space, uncomfortable but necessary, to breathe, to think, and to grow. I remember walking through my new neighborhood for the first time, feeling a mix of excitement and uncertainty. This was my fresh start. No ties to the past, no reminders around every corner of what had been broken. Just a blank canvas, waiting for me to paint my own story. Work remained a lifeline, grounding me in routine and purpose. I pushed myself to take on projects I'd been hesitant about before, earning respect and finding satisfaction in my accomplishments. I started mentoring younger colleagues, surprising myself with how much I enjoyed helping others grow. Socially, things slowly came back together. The soccer league became a real source of joy, not just the game itself, but the friendships that came with it. Laughing after a tough match, celebrating small victories, feeling part of a team again. Those moments reminded me I wasn't alone. Dating has been its own challenge. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight, and I'm honest with anyone new about where I'm at. There's vulnerability in that honesty, but it's worth it. I'm learning to let my guard down little by little, to see love as something possible again. Imperfect, messy, but real. Therapy is ongoing, a constant reminder that healing is a process, not a destination. My counselor and I work through triggers, setbacks, and breakthroughs. I've learned to be kinder to myself, to celebrate progress no matter how small, and to face the future without fear. Claire's chapter is closed, but the lessons linger. Betrayal taught me about boundaries, self-worth, and the importance of truth. It also showed me how fragile trust is and how vital it is to nurture it in any relationship. Financially, I'm stable and cautious. I've started investing in my future, retirement, emergency funds, things I never prioritized before. Security feels different now. It's not just about money, but about having control over my life. Family has become a sanctuary. I'm closer with my siblings, call my parents more often, and appreciate the simple moments we share. Their support has been unwavering, a reminder that no matter what, some bonds don't break. I still have moments when memories hit unexpectedly. A song on the radio, a scent, a place. They sting, sure, but they're no longer chains holding me back. They're reminders of what I survived and what I'm becoming. Most importantly, I've learned that starting over isn't defeat, it's courage. It's the willingness to face pain, to forgive, even when it's hard, and to build something better from the wreckage. I'm not perfect. I stumble. I get scared, but I keep moving forward. Because life doesn't wait, and neither can I. As for Claire, I wish her well, not because I need closure, but because I've found peace in letting go. She's in Chicago now, building her own life, and I'm here, building mine. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to travel. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it leads. In the end, it wasn't about getting revenge. It was about taking back my life. I'm not the guy who got blindsided anymore. I'm stronger, wiser, and finally moving forward on my own terms. Sometimes, starting over is the toughest fight, but it's also the most worth it.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more crazy twists. See you in the next one.